everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome into Concrete Jungle, a New York baseball podcast here on FingerLakes1.com. Paul Russo, Kyle Evans here as well, as always. Look, frankly, there's one thing, again, the past few days has really pushed home for me, the fact that baseball, the weirdest sport on the planet. And we'll jump into that, right? Mets get a big series win over the Cubs. The Yankees get a series loss against the wayward White Sox. Rochester and Syracuse have split so far. Before we go any further, I do have to apologize. I still have a little bit of Novocaine going on from dental work this morning, so might be slurring the S's a little bit today, but we'll battle through. That's what we do around here. So, Kyle, same thoughts, probably a little bit to a degree, I'd assume, for you, the way I kind of feel about the past few nights of baseball for the New York teams.
Yeah, really, the only thing that's going on right now with the Yankees is they're just shaving off games on the season. They're not gaining ground. They're continuing to make the same mistakes on the field. The pitching has not been good. The offense has not been good. Boone's getting thrown out. Just nothing really going on with this team. And 47 games left. I think a lot of fans are kind of ready for it to be over, including myself.
Yeah, it's been a weird one, and we'll actually jump into kind of a little bit of all that, oddly enough. For the Yankees, the Mets probably couldn't have asked for a better 3 games, maybe collectively. We'll jump into a couple of different things with them as well, because for them, it's almost like, I don't know, we kind of know what they are at this point, and I don't think there's not a ton now post-All-Star or post-trade deadline with them where it's, there's a lot of talking points. We kind of got through it. Now everything's kind of settled. The dust is cleared for them a little bit, and they're playing decent baseball here so far to start the week. Overall, anyway.
Yeah, and a big part of that is Pete Alonso. Homered in 3 straight games now. It's kind of homering early on in these games where it's kind of getting the offense going a little bit. The pitching's been better. The bullpen's been a little better. Adam Ottavino struggled a little bit the past couple nights, but for the most part, they're getting strong performances on both ends, and that's what they lacked all year. When one thing's clicking, the other isn't clicking, and finally they're both clicking. Yeah. So that was good to see on their part.
Yeah, definitely. So before we go any further, thank a couple of our sponsors, including Dr. Jeffrey Halstead, DMD. Dr. Jeffrey Halstead has been Canandaigua hometown dentist for more than 35 years, offering routine dental care as well as cosmetic dentistry, implants, and dentures by their highly trained and experienced staff. Visit them online at CanandaiguaDentistry.com or find them on Facebook and Instagram today. And, Lincoln Hill Farms. So go on out to Lincoln Hill Farms Saturday, September 16th. It's a little bit far out, but mark it on your calendar from 1 to 6 p.m. for Oktoberfest on the farm. Enjoy German-style food, beer, live music, and a Steinhoist contest with plenty of fun fare. Get more information and tickets online at LincolnHillFarms.com today. Like I said, September 16th from 1 to 6 for that. I know it's a little far out, but you can never start planning too early for stuff like that. So, let's begin with the Mets today. As I mentioned, take the series victory against the Cubs, 2-3. And overall, you kind of started with it there, Kyle, a little bit, and I think we can kind of piggyback off it. Pete Alonso got the series going with a, how can I describe it, a 42-degree launch angle home run that usually, like they said on the broadcast, and I do agree with, usually those are pop-outs in this day and age. But for him, it kept carrying, and certainly set the tone for the series. And in the series wrap-up last night on Wednesday, kind of was the punctuation mark in a way, given how the game played out and everything. But for Pete Alonso to kind of just leave the mark the way he did on the series, it's pretty big, because I know a lot of the Mets stuff right now probably isn't too much offensively focused for the topics we usually discuss. And to be honest with you, we are going to discuss the pitching here, obviously, for them as well through the series. But, for Pete, where we were kind of discussing, the past couple of weeks, really, and really, I guess, mainly this past week since we got through the trade deadline, right, about who's kind of going to maybe step up a little bit here. We kind of were hoping for maybe Lindor, somebody else in that line, right? But it ends up being, at least in this 3-game run, Pete Alonso.
Yeah, he was definitely the biggest offensive contributor, but Jeff McNeil did homer yesterday. That was good to see. That's a guy that I mentioned Monday that needs to really get going here. Brandon Nimmo's chipped in a little bit, and then the guys that have been called up have been chipping in as well. So it's good to see that things might be finally turning the corner. Obviously, they're not going to make the playoffs. We all know that. I mean, I guess they're not mathematically out of it, but it's a long shot. So at this point, you just try to win as many games as you can, and I think they just had a really good series against a team that came in scoring plenty of runs. We know what they did against the Reds prior to this series. Cody Bellinger's having a great year. Jeimer Candelario. It's a good offense right now. So that was encouraging to see. I think they outscored them like 21-10, if I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't really a close series, except yesterday the game was close in the end because the Mets bullpen had trouble there. But yeah, I think if you're a Met fan, yeah, you're not doing much this year, but that was a fun series to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, you could kind of tell, I think, I don't know about maybe necessarily going into the series in particular, right? But the vibe almost in a way after Pete hit his first home run on Monday, it's about as loose as I've seen the dugout in a long time, to be honest. And I don't know if the mindset for them now is right. Like, we don't have anything to really obviously lose at this point, right? They'd have to make up a week's worth of games in the wild card side of things, right? And, right, and Kyle, like you said, I mean, mathematically they're there, and it's baseball, as we come to learn, right? Crazier things have happened, but, odds are, right, probably not looking great for the playoffs at this point, obviously. But, you can always build for next year, and I think this is maybe a good stepping stone spot for the Mets in this space, right? Is you get Pete continuously going like that, you get the guys like McNeil on the right path to kind of get going a little bit, and who knows? And you mentioned, right, the young guys, and we'll jump into something with that a little bit as well here in a minute. But you're right, the guys brought up from Syracuse that some more so than others that we've been waiting on, others less so, step up to the plate. Switch over here for a quick second. I want to talk about their pitching because at least this 3-game sample size, I thought was probably the best that they've collectively been all year. Start off strong, obviously, with Kodai Senga starting on Monday. Lost track of time there for a minute. Transition over to, say, Carlos Carrasco, and he said he had to tweak his mechanics, and it kind of looked like it worked out really well to even the bullpen. And I know there's a lot of, I guess, positivity surrounding this, and we probably should, but like Phil Bickford, in his first tough spot as a Met reliever, steps up and gets I think it was actually technically his second career save. So I thought collectively overall, the whole pitching unit, I thought did really well. Obviously Tuesday, maybe results-wise it's not there, but beggars can't be choosers at some points, right? I think in the grand scope of it, the way we're looking at it, at least at the moment, the past 3 games have been probably the 3 best pitching outings as well collectively through the whole staff that we've seen, maybe not all year, but certainly in the past maybe month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, and yesterday David Peterson didn't go too deep into the game, but he still pitched pretty well, and I think I read after the game that he has like a 2.55 ERA in his last 15 appearances, so he's not throwing as many innings as you'd like, but he's still giving you quality innings, and that was big too. Hand it over to the bullpen, and the bullpen closed it out. Like I said, Ottavino did struggle a little bit, but that was the only run the bullpen gave up over that. What was it, 5-ish innings? So yeah, like I said, I think this was a really good series for the Mets. However, their upcoming series is going to be a lot more tough. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll jump into that here obviously in just a sec. I found it pretty interesting, and I think maybe we can kind of maybe tie a little bit up here as well before we kind of move on. I think to a degree, we kind of maybe have to shift even the expectations again for this team moving forward the rest of the year. Now, do I think, and maybe this actual upcoming series against Atlanta, right, is a bad example because it's a 4-game series, right? There's a doubleheader on Saturday. And not to jump too far ahead, right? I'm guessing neither one of us even expect a split here, right? More than likely.
I'm not sure they even win a game.
Okay, so taking away from this weekend, right? You know, this is something I think the Mets can do the rest of the way is not obviously win every series, and maybe you don't even win like half your series left in that sense, right? But you're at least in it, and you have the opportunities present themselves for wins, right? Because it's apparent they can go up against a team like the Cubs, where, yeah, they've surprised and everything, and, you know, they probably aren't necessarily as good as they are playing, but they are, as opposed to the Mets who didn't play to as good as they were supposed to be. But you can go out there and you can get some of these where, to go back to a point I said at the beginning, right, you kind of build this momentum for 2024 with the guys who will be there in 2024. And maybe that's how things can transition over. We've seen these timelines for these teams the past few years, and look at this year. Like, Cincinnati's timeline has shifted up a whole year. Miami's timeline has shifted up a whole year. You know, so on and so forth, that maybe it's not the Mets are planning for 2025, it's planning for 2024 midway through the year to be buyers at the deadline or something like that.
Yeah, even if they don't win games, I still think, individual results matter. Obviously, Pete Alonso, he still cares about homering and having a good year. So, 7 of their next 14 games are against the Braves. Obviously, it's the best team in baseball right now. You're not probably going to win the series, but at least fight, make the games close, at least be in and be competitive. And I think that's what will steer this team in the right direction heading into next year.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree full 110% with you, Kyle. All right, so the Mets, a couple of roster updates, news and notes for them. DJ Stewart was scratched. He was supposed to be in the lineup last night, but I guess he's been dealing with some wrist issues, and that was the official classification. So they figured give him the day off. Possibly we might see him Friday or some way, shape, or form, but nothing outside of just being scratched from the lineup yesterday just yet with him. On the other hand, Starling Marte placed on the 10-day injured list with a right groin strain, and he's already had an injection to that injury since being placed on the IL. This is a pretty, I would say, bad sign. Obviously, not a medical professional here, but he had a groin surgery in the offseason. It's never a good thing with these surgeries that in this post-year of recovery where he's still playing, obviously, and everything like that, to have his strain. This is something that he has dealt with before. We talked about it even last year on the podcast when he was dealing with groin issues and stuff like that. But for a guy who has kind of had these issues before, and it kind of seems like it's almost like a chronic thing right now with him, it's certainly not a good sign for, let alone the team, but the player.
Yeah, this might be Marte's, I would say, worst season as a big leaguer.
Definitely.
In terms of results on the field and injuries. And yeah, it's tough news. I'm not sure if we'll see him again this year. And again, with 47 games left, why push it? Just kind of, shut him down for the year at this point, I would.
And that's the interesting thing. I know they placed him on the 10-day IL, but they have no projected return date for him. There is no timeline yet for him. Now, obviously, timeline they might not establish, but the key part is there's no expected date back, and that's the key indication for what you brought up.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think he still has 2 years left on his contract, so I'm not sure what the Mets are going to do. He just hasn't really lived up to expectations, it seems like, the last year or so. So maybe there's a trade that eventually comes in his final year next year. Maybe at the deadline he's a piece that they move. Better outfielder that a team would want. But yeah, I'm not sure if he sticks out his contract with this team.
Yeah, I don't know. He's intriguing when his bat is good. He could, in theory, DH for them, but with all of his issues at this point, I don't know if he's an everyday outfielder for a team anyway.
And he takes a spot away from a younger guy like Mauricio when he comes up, and you already got Nimmo, and it's just McNeil's been playing right field a lot. So I don't know. I do think he could be moved at some point.
I mean, we thought he was going to be moved anyway at this past deadline. So yeah, all right. Kind of go back to something I alluded to earlier a little bit here, but Brett Beatty was optioned to AAA Syracuse. Yeah, I mean, he's been struggling, but the way this team is right now, and it did admittedly kind of smoke out the beginning portion of the series against the Cubs for the Mets was him being optioned. I'm not a fan of it. I think at this point you just kind of let the kids play. Been saying it all year, but I don't know what really sending him down kind of accomplishes. Yeah, he's probably will get a couple more opportunities batting wise to figure stuff out and everything, but I would assume at this point he's been up pretty much all year. Let him finish this out and kind of see what you can do with him.
Yeah, after I heard the news, I dove into the numbers a little bit. I get kind of why they made the decision, but at the same time, like you said, why not let him ride it out? And there was times where he wasn't in the lineup every day. I don't get why a 23-year-old wouldn't be in this lineup every single day. So he was hitting 161 over his last 30 games. Big sample size, 15 for 93. Not great, but again, if maybe you played him every day, maybe he would finally get those consistent opportunities where he would, go on a hitting streak and get going. And it just seemed like when he had a couple hits or a home run, the next day he'd be sitting. And how are you supposed to get a guy going doing that?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to play every day now in AAA, but how's that going to do for his confidence? He just got sent down now, and he didn't even start the year with the team. So he's probably wondering, man, what am I going to have to do to stick around?
Right.
And to get everyday playing time. So I'm not sure if sending him down, obviously they're not going to call him right back up. So is he going to be back up this year? There's 47 games left. I'm wondering what they're really thinking about him. And then obviously Mauricio's still not up. So it's what are they doing with their prospects? They called up Alvarez and he's stuck around and he's hitting. So why are they not doing it with other?
Same with Vientos.
Yeah. So I don't understand it. Even Vientos, there's times where he's not getting everyday at bats. Don't you want to see what your future looks like? Why are you giving Vogelback at bats still every day? No matter what, Vogelback's in the lineup. It seems like. So I don't know. The prospect management with this team right now is questionable. But I guess I do kind of get where they were going because of the numbers, but still don't like it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't like it either. I don't know, especially given, and I'm not knocking it here, but they recalled Jonathan Aruz and selected Abraham Almonte's contract to be called up, and I don't mean to knock Almonte, right? But I mean, this is a career quad A player pretty much at this point. I've jokingly called him the Red Sox legend at this point. But I get right positionally you gotta have another outfielder up there with Marte going down and stuff like that. But I mean, to go back to it, maybe it's not Beatty, right? But Mauricio's been playing outfield this year. That's one of the big things why he's still apparently in Syracuse is to play outfield. Another golden opportunity to have, frankly, see what your future is, and the Mets didn't take advantage of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is really just a bizarre season with the whole, record-wise, the trades, the prospect management. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting offseason for sure.
Definitely. All right, the Mets, as we alluded to, welcome the Atlanta Braves to Citi Field for 4 games. Obviously, not beginning tonight, but beginning Friday. Doubleheader on Saturday. For the Mets, there's only one known pitcher. That's Tyler Megill. He will be going for tomorrow night, Friday. Everything else for both teams is to be determined at the moment because of the Braves are still playing right now, and you never know what really might happen with pitching. So, Friday night, tomorrow night, 7:10 first pitch on SNY or MLB Network, depending on your market. Game 1 on Saturday is a 1:10 first pitch, SNY or MLB Network, depending on your market. Game 2 on Saturday, 7:15 on Fox, and then Sunday, 7:10 on ESPN for Sunday Night Baseball.
Yuck.
I kind of already alluded to it. I think the Mets do get one, but
Good luck.
I can't see them splitting with Atlanta. I mean, especially, I just got done on here saying on this podcast last week, our late week edition, that to me, the Braves rather, are the best team in the MLB, bar none. So, I think it's a tough spot for the Mets to maybe continue having and building that momentum a little bit that they got with the Cubs, but I just don't see it happening against Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Braves for a sweep.
Wow.
I think the Mets pitching has been good this week, but that Braves offense is unbelievable. They lead the league in homers. Their first innings stats are unbelievable. They jump on teams early. I mean, they're up 4-0 already on the Pirates. Matt Olson, 40th home run. So they're just a machine. They just hit and hit and hit. And they can be down 5 runs, and they're coming back. It's just an unbelievable team that they've built. And like we've mentioned before, all these young players that they have locked up for years to come, it's quite a storyline.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're going nowhere in the sense of, out of people's hair, but that'll happen. Like, they're locked up. All right, let's talk about the Yankees here, dropping a series to the White Sox. Lost both series on the year to this wayward team. I don't know really kind of where to begin with them. It's kind of a lot of repeat points as well with them at this point, but it's kind of whatever. I kind of want to begin, though, with the game yesterday, and mainly Luis Severino again. Because I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on this one, Kyle. This is something that neither one of us had discussed with each other, but the Yankees didn't know really what they were going to do with this third game that would have lined up to be Severino to start. They opted to go with the opener role, and they went with Ian Hamilton. And they decided Severino would be the one to come out and handle the bulk after Hamilton. And surprise, it's Severino's first inning that he pitches, not necessarily the first inning, that once again proves to be a bit of an issue. I kind of want to start here, though. You have Nick Ramirez up, not to spoil our roster updates, but Nick Ramirez back up, and he's done the opening and starting before when necessary. Why not go with him? I don't know. I didn't look it up. I didn't have time. I apologize to the Ian Hamilton stands out there. But I was this like his first career professional start too? Like I don't know, but like it was a baffling decision in my mind, to be completely honest.
Yeah, especially because Ian Hamilton threw 10 pitches, and Aaron Boone's post-game press conference was a joke again, as I would say most fans would agree with me there. He said that Ian Hamilton was not going to go a second inning because he wanted to keep him in play for Friday, and he did not want to bring
Off day today.
And he didn't want to bring Severino mid-inning if Hamilton got in trouble. That's the only thing I can somewhat agree with. Severino's already having a terrible year. You don't want him coming in with runners on base. I get that.
I agree with that, yeah.
But more than likely, Hamilton is getting through that second inning after only throwing 10 in the first. And this is a White Sox team that is not great. So I don't agree with the decision that they did. At that point, if Hamilton's going to throw 10 pitches, just start Severino.
Right.
Because Severino's ERA is bad in every inning. It's funny that they thought only the first inning has been the reason why he's struggling this year, and it's not. I mean, the stats back it up. He has an 8 ERA in the third inning. It's like so on, repetitive stuff. So yeah, stupid decision. I don't know how this guy can make another start in a Yankee uniform. He keeps saying in his post-game press conferences that he's been one of the worst pitchers in the league this year, which he's certainly not wrong. Yeah. He leads every category, in terms of negative stats. So
I know we've done this before, but at this point where it sits right now, something has to be done. And it goes back to obviously the stuff happening with Herman and sitting more or less idle at the trade deadline. Just to call it what it is, the Yankees sat idle, right? To not bring in a starting pitcher is mind-boggling to me. And I don't want to jump ahead here, but they designate Devi Garcia for assignment. And I know he's been working on the bullpen this year, and I know he hasn't lived up to what he was hyped up to be, but he's 24. And to me, with all this stuff going on, I would at least have given him a shot. I mean, what else do you have to lose if you're the Yankees as a staff right now than to give Garcia that one last shot? Because he can't be any worse than Severino in my mind at this point, right? And I get it. Maybe this is a thing where it's like, well, if Luis Gil was still healthy, but he's not. He's not going to probably be back at all this year, and just move on from it, right? But the fact that they've stuck with Severino at this point, and I think it's doing more harm than good to him at this point as well, just kind of mentally, it's frankly depressing kind of hearing him talk, to be completely honest at this point. It really is, because you take the playing element outside of it, but like the human element in me is just like, this poor guy just is like, he's struggling to figure it out. And we've all been in that space before in our own lives in different circumstances, obviously, but the fact of the matter is, this is a guy who is lost right now, and I don't know what it needs to take to find himself, but I think, mentally, I would say get him some help in that space. I think mechanically and actually playing, I think they have to do the Manoah route, or maybe even the Roansy Contreras route with Pittsburgh, and you send him to your complex league, and you send him down to the complex, and you just kind of let him throw until something maybe clicks, and you go from there. And I know it might be just too late in the season to kind of do that, but I don't know what other option you kind of have. I don't know if you can go into this offseason allowing that to happen, or allowing him to stay what he's doing to happen.
Yeah, another thing that Boone said that makes zero sense to me is that they don't have a lot of options right now with Herman gone and, I'm blanking. Rodon on the IL. But that's not true. Randy Vasquez has started 3 Major League games and has a 1.17 ERA. He threw 5 shutout innings against Baltimore back on July 5th. Why hasn't he earned another shot?
And I'm sure you might go here a little bit, but I don't buy that there's just not options available. You have options. Johnny Brito was just up on your active roster. You could have kept him up. And I get that there had to be some sort of corresponding move for Loizaga to get brought back in, but I think there was probably another option available to you to probably do that, especially in the spot that you are, to at least keep Brito there. He's started. In my mind, he hasn't been that bad, but I'm to kind of piggyback off your other Boone points from earlier, I call bull. You have options, in my mind anyway.
Yeah, and another thing, too, that I wanted to get to is yesterday, Boone spoke pregame like he always does. Everyone in the bullpen was available but Michael King, who almost went 3 innings the night before, so you understand that.
Yeah.
So if the Yankees are taking things serious and trying to win games, then after Severino gives up 3 runs in the second and it's 4-0 Chicago, why are you bringing him back out for the 3rd inning?
Correct.
And he immediately gives up another run, and then it's 5-0. If you're taking these games in August serious, you would pull him with a fully rested bullpen and kind of just maneuver your way through to get through it. But they stick with Severino, and it just kind of gets to the point where this offense couldn't make up the ground. They had opportunities, but it just doesn't seem like the Yankees take these games as serious, where the fans are calling out the moves that the manager should make or the team should make, and they just don't see it. Why would you bring Severino back out? He gave up 3 runs in the second. And another thing is he only threw 6 fastballs out of his 40-something pitches. Jack Curry said that on the postgame. Isn't that a sign he has no confidence?
Right.
Just, as you said, baffling decisions, and it's just funny that the fans are no better than it seems like the team does.
Right.
Day off today, and you don't go to the bullpen earlier.
Right.
The game got out of hand, and the offense can't make up that ground right now.
Yeah. Before we get to kind of like the last main talking point I kind of want to do with the Yankees at this point, I do want to mention Boone now in 6 ejections on the year. I believe he's up to 38 now, something like that, 36 maybe. I don't know. I know it's in the 30s for career ejections, but yeah, I mean, look, I get Laz was awful and everything like that, and I don't know if he was doing it from the fired up side of things, but this was kind of the first one in my mind that I thought he was really looking like a complete idiot out there, to be honest. And I don't know if that's just the way the team has kind of got him at the moment, but yeah, it's one of those ejections, not for the ages type thing, but I'll make the highlight reel just because of what he did. But I wasn't particularly a fan of kind of the whole charade he did and how he more or less frankly backtracked on what he did afterwards.
Yeah, have you seen the breakdown yet on John Boy Media?
I have not seen the breakdown.
Well, Laz Diaz kind of said some personal things, I would say.
But that's also like that's just known with Laz. Like,
well, that's I know, but I'm just kind of like saying that's why Boone.
I know. I'm just yeah.
Yeah, you can go watch it after this, but yeah, basically Boone was just saying you stink, and Les Diaz kind of got more personal, and then he told Boone to draw the line bigger when he was drawing the line in the box, and I don't know. Yeah, I guess Boone also said though on Talking Yanks that when he was growing up, him and Laz were always close, so he wanted to shake hands yesterday and kind of move on, but didn't know if Laz would be for it. But yeah, I mean, you get Boone's frustration, so many calls out of the zone, but again, this team just keeps leaving runners on. They're finally getting runners on, and they just, yesterday, bases loaded, nobody out, and didn't score. I mean, that was just so predictable.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I actually am surprised that it's only 6 ejections. It seems like Boone's been tossed way more.
Yeah. All right, before we kind of wrap up all the other stuff, the Yankees, do want to ask you this question, Kyle, because to me, this team lives up to this billing. Especially even the late years of Girardi up to now, this Yankee team, which has pretty much the same core, to be honest, nothing's really outright changed outside of really the manager and a couple players here and there. They love playing to the level of their opponents, and I don't get Hal's confidence in Cashman. How that's not even a discussion point I had for today because it's been pushed to like the back burner in my mind. Because obviously we know Hal's gonna have faith in Cashman, but Cashman has not done anything to change his team once again, as we know. But I don't get how the Yankees are as good as they are as playing to the level of their opponents as they are. We see them come off a series where they split with Houston, and then they go into Chicago and just look like buffoons. It's kind of baffling to me. This whole team is baffling, but I mean, I guess that's just to be expected at this point because nothing's, like I said, in my mind, nothing has at this point changed since the late Girardi years, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, so here's the series that the Yankees have lost. I saw this stat last night. They've lost 2 series of the White Sox, 2 series of the Red Sox, a series to the Cardinals, Rockies, Angels.
Yeah.
That backs up your point perfectly. If you're a championship caliber team, as Cashman and Boone continue to say, you can't be losing games to these teams, and they've done that. And aside from the Royals and A's this year, they have a losing record, and their run differential is negative.
Yeah.
So how is that a good team? And how are we supposed to have hope, and how are we not supposed to be upset, and so on. So for me, it's a lost year. This team's going nowhere. Cashman will be back. I guarantee it. Boone might not be back, but that doesn't matter. We'll just bring in another manager that just listens to the front office and talks good about his players, and they'll just continue to be, an average team that maybe finishes above 500 and gets a wild card.
Yep.
No World Series, no championship caliber team.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, so kind of already mentioned a few of these, so we'll probably still touch on them, but we'll begin with DJ LeMahieu, who was in the lineup Wednesday, but was scratched late with a right calf tightness diagnosis. He said he felt something in batting practice. Boone said after he took IO, but just didn't look or feel right. So hopefully, especially with this day off, there's nothing super serious outside of maybe a one-day thing, kind of like in the DJ Stewart realm for the Mets here. But this is, in my mind, probably a little bit of a bigger concern given the Yankees have clearly been dealing with people with calf issues all year, and especially in the infield. And I don't think the Yankees, for as up and down as LeMahieu's been this year, can really afford to lose him in the lineup.
And he was actually starting to hit a little more, so yeah, losing him would be a problem for an offense that just it's so hard to watch. But yeah, I do think it's probably not that serious.
Carlos Rodon, the aforementioned, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, was playing catch in Chicago and was throwing it up to 120 feet at certain points over the past couple of days. That tells me the Yankees are pretty confident that he'll probably come off the injured list right away when he's available
For the Braves series, I believe, at the end of it.
Yes. So I believe that would be the 15-day mark, and they retroactive it. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a pretty positive sign at this point that he's already doing that, and he's already even said that he feels like he probably could kind of go out and do his thing on the mound.
Yeah, the thing is, even if he does, come back in the minimum days, I mean, he hasn't been that good. So, I don't know. I don't know what to expect moving forward with him. He's been walking a lot of batters. He just doesn't put away batters, and his pitch count gets too high, and I don't know. Yeah, just tough time right now.
All right, already mentioned, but Luis Saga activated off the injured list. Left-hander Nick Ramirez was recalled from AAA square in Wilkes-Barre, and Debbie Garcia designated for assignment. That pretty much wraps up the Yankees stuff roster-wise. So let's move on for them. So they head to Miami this weekend for 3 games against the Marlins. This is going to be an interesting series for the Yankees. First pitch tomorrow, Friday, 6:40 on Yes. To be determined for the Yankees against Jesus Luzardo for the Marlins. Saturday, 4:10 on Yes or MLB Network, depending upon your market. It's Nestor Cortez against Sandy Alcantara. And then Sunday, 1:40 on Yes or MLB Network, depending upon your market. Garrett Cole and Yuri Perez. 2 really good pitching matchups to close out the series. But the question mark comes tomorrow, and the Yankees don't know yet who will be pitching that game. A lot of question marks. I had a lot of faith going into that White Sox series, and I think if they had somehow won the series, I'd be a lot more confident going into this Miami series, predicting what will happen, but I'm not. I'm going to say the Yankees drop the series. I don't think they get swept. I think they win at least one of the games in there, right? But I have a question mark about what you're going to do on tomorrow night, Friday, for pitching. And the way the offense kind of goes here with them, who knows if they'll provide, whether it's Nestor or Garrett, what they need to kind of carry out and get a win. So I think they get 1 of 3 against the Marlins.
Damn. Swept.
Wow.
Yep. Marlins haven't been playing too great as of the last few weeks, but Yankees offense, they can't win games.
Also hasn't been good.
Yeah, so, and Jesus Luzardo and Sandy Alcantara, yeah, he hasn't pitched too well, but, I mean, these guys are known to be pretty good pitchers, and the offense doesn't really matter who they're facing, it seems like. Yankees have shown that, getting shut down by Jameson Taillon. We could go on and on and on. But, yeah, I think this is going to be a rough series, and it's going to be more rough if the Blue Jays continue to win. That'll put them possibly at 8.5 out by the end of the weekend, or at least 7.5 if they win 1, which by then they'll have 44 games left. Yikes.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yeah.
That's for sure. All right, before we get out of here, talk about Rochester and Syracuse quick. Both teams have split their series so far to start the week. For Syracuse, they're down in Scranton, and kind of the highlight for them so far comes from Tuesday's start with Mike Vassell. Took a no-hitter into the 9th inning for the S-Mets. Convert it, but they did get the win there 3-0. So that's a pretty big positive for a team that kind of all year, we the main talking point of them has been pitching, and it's pretty apparent, at least with a couple of these guys like Vassell, that they've kind of found these guys they can kind of turn to a little bit, and obviously AAA baseball is way different than the MLB when it comes to stuff like this, but baseball is baseball when it boils down to it. And when you can find guys you can rely on every 5 days that can go out there and do a job like that, they can carry momentum for the team, but, especially when they're out on the mound, it kind of puts the rest of the team at ease knowing that you have a good guy on the bump that you can trust.
Yeah, I saw that the other night. I was like, wow, it's Scranton too.
Hmm.
Obviously, Scranton's without a few players that probably could have ended that no-hitter a little sooner, aka Jake Rake Bowers, the guy that just tore up AAA. But yeah, that was impressive. I'm surprised. Actually, he went that deep too. His pitch count was actually pretty good too. So yeah, impressive performance.
Yeah, for Syracuse as well, a couple of things to make note of here. They released Brendan Fryman, a shortstop. Outfielder Lorenzo Cedrola was sent to Single-A St. Lucie on rehab assignment. Right-hander Eric Orzi was placed on the 7-day injured list. Shortstop Cesar Barbisi was assigned to Double-A Bingham, or assigned from Double-A Binghamton rather. Joey Lucchese, rehab assignment with High A Brooklyn has started, and outfielder Tim LaCastro will be joining the team for rehab as well. In Rochester, a couple hecky opening games for them. They went on walk-off fashion Tuesday night, last night on Wednesday night, power night, and they end up losing 14-13 as the final there. So tough spot for the Red Wings, but they didn't really lose any ground standings-wise. Just a couple baseball's weird scenarios and a couple wacky games that Rochester finds himself split with Lehigh Valley so far.
27 runs last night.
Yeah.
And imagine being at that game. But yeah, they're playing better than Syracuse has, and I'll say it.
Go ahead.
They'll finish the year above 500.
Oh,
I predicted that in the first half,
again.
but I'm actually serious this
All right.
time. I think from what I'm seeing, they're going to do it this time.
All right.
They're scoring a lot of runs.
I have faith in you.
They're scoring a lot more runs, it seems like.
Yeah. I have faith in you for that prediction, Kyle.
Syracuse will finish with 20 wins.
I have an update as well. The Charlotte Knights have not won yet this week.
What's their win total?
6.
Bold prediction, they finish with more wins than the Syracuse Mets.
That is very bold. At least we can say Syracuse has gotten to double digits so yet, you know. For Rochester, Carter Keyboom was activated off the injured list, and poor right-hander Amos Willingham, one of the prospects, he's been on the shuttle going back and forth here the past week. The poor guy was sent back down at the end of last week, called back up to Washington to start the week, and has already been optioned back to Rochester. So
Tough life.
Jesus, I can only imagine.
Could have a worse job.
Right, but the point still stands. I'm sure it's not fun, just more or less hopping on a plane every day, not knowing for sure if you'll be back in another 48 hours the way he has been, I guess. So that'll take care of Concrete Jungle for today. We'll be back Monday.
Unfortunately.
Wow, you put it that way, damn.
Well, it's because I don't want to talk more about the Yankees losing, but hey, we can shift our focus to the Mets, who are... I said they're going to get swept, but I'm thinking now they don't get swept, but the Yankees are getting swept.
A little buyer's remorse on your prediction.
Yeah.
Anything for the weekend for you, Kyle?
Well, I played baseball
Oh,
the last couple nights, maybe more of that.
attaboy.
And I don't know. It's probably a quieter weekend. Not really paying attention to much baseball as of late. Just over it, tired.
Understandable.
It's a long season.
Yeah, hey, the burnout is real. Nobody can deny that. So, yeah, I got baseball myself this weekend, so
Did you guys win last
we
night?
did not. We actually
Blowout?
lost, so we'll have to win both on Sunday. It wasn't a blowout. 5-0 we lost. Just
Damn it.
fundamentals. Fundamentals will get you every now and then. But yeah, that'll take care of it for Concrete Jungle then for today. Like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. And we'll be back on Monday to recap the weekend and any other news that happens for the Yankees, Mets, Red Wings, and S-Mets. So have a great weekend, everybody.